Hi, I'm Vesela from Playful Nutrition, and today I want to show you how to assemble a healthy plate. Now, if you are new to this concept, there is a lot of confusion sometimes about how to compose your meals or your plate, and a lot of times the government kind of gives us a pyramid on which we should base the foods that we should consume predominantly. However, a pyramid can be very confusing sometimes to put this into a practical everyday assembling of your meal, because it doesn't really give us the visual. So today I'm going to do actually a visual that I think is going to stick with you much better, which is a plate. And since it is summer, I'm going to do an assembled bowl because I think it's the perfect kind of food that we can eat these days. It is lighter, lots of vegetables as you can see, and things that you can assemble easily. And if you're into meal prepping, by the way, this is another great way to incorporate food that you have prepared in advance. And in winter time as well, you can use the same principles when you make soups or casseroles or stews, and just obviously the visual is going to be a little bit different. So let's get started. I'm gonna use some baby spinach, and the general rule in assembling a plate is that you want to have half of your plate to be made up of vegetables. And when I talk about vegetables here, I mean particularly non-starchy vegetables. So we're gonna use some spinach today. Leafy greens are something that I think we should all aim to have every day, and at least if you can, even at every meal. But tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers all represent, and I have some roasted cauliflower as well. Those are examples of non-starchy vegetables. So I'm gonna start with my spinach here in my bowl, and then I'm gonna move on with adding some whole grains. Whole grains are really, really good for us, for our health. They give us a lot of energy that is going to that is not going to spike our blood sugar levels, but it's going to be continuously flowing through the day. And I particularly am a big fan of quinoa because it's a pseudo grain. And in that sense, it is very high in protein. So it's a very good combination of healthy carbs and fiber and protein. This is going to be my starchy component here in this bowl. And I'm aiming to have 1/3 of my bowl to be made up of quinoa, okay? But instead of quinoa, you can use anything else. You can use brown rice, you can use millet, you can use also, for example, potatoes or sweet potatoes. They would count towards that starchy component of your meal. Other 1/4 of your plate is going to be composed of protein. Okay, so you can use any kind of protein that you like. You can use soya, any kind of tofu, for example, tempeh, but also beans are amazing because they count towards protein, but they are made up of, again, of a mixture between carbohydrates and protein. So I'm a big fan of beluga lentils. These are basically black lentils, and they're considered one of the healthiest varieties of lentils out there because they're particularly rich in nutrients. So they contain a lot of iron and calcium, and as I mentioned again, protein. Plus, I find that they kind of give a nice contrast now to my quinoa. So you have a bit of a black and white thingy going on, which I kind of like. So I'm gonna add another 1/4 of my plate to be composed of those lentils. I like to use leftovers. For me, it's particularly for assembling a bowl, it's a very good idea to do stuff in advance, to prepare some of the foods in advance. So for example, I have roasted some cauliflower yesterday. So I'm just going to use whatever I have left over here. Some cherry tomatoes. They're gonna give that nice color, but they're also going to provide with some more nutrients such as vitamin C, and they also contain antioxidants like lycopene. So for summer, they're just perfect addition to any kind of bowl because they're just going to brighten everything up. So I'm just gonna add here 1 tomato. And then next up, I'm going to use some bell pepper. So I have chosen a yellow bell pepper just to brighten up my bowl and make it look a little bit more summery. Now, as you can see, this is how the bowl looks like so far. So we have basically 1/4 and 1/4 of protein and starchy carbohydrates, plenty of vegetables, and another very important component of a bowl is actually fat. And the quality of the fat is as important just as the quantity of fat we consume. So if you are at home, I would definitely recommend that you do your own dressings and that you also pay attention to the fat that you use for cooking and that you use in general for eating, because it can add up pretty quickly. And we know that too much fat is obviously not the best for us. I'm going to use some avocado for my bowl, which is a good source of monounsaturated fats. 1/4 of avocado is enough for one person. And lastly, just for a pop of color, but also just to add some more nutrients, I like to add some pomegranate seeds. And I'm just going to add also a little bit of blueberries, just to make it a bit more summery. And now comes the dressing. Now I find actually for a bowl, to make a bowl really come together, it is important to make a very nice dressing. And here it comes into factor what you put inside the dressing. So you can use, for example, any kind of oil, then you top up you obviously are going to go a little bit higher on the fat content in your bowl. But for example, here what I have done is, this is actually a leftover sauce from pasta sauce that I did 2 days ago for a plant-based mac and cheese. And actually I'm just going to use it to top up my bowl with it. This is made with butternut squash and cashews and some nutritional yeast and lemon juice. So I have basically just adjusted a little bit the sauce to make it to a dressing, and it's going to add more micronutrients as well as healthy fats coming from the cashews, but you also actually have vegetables inside, as I mentioned before, because you have the butternut squash. So I'm just going to add this as well, and there you have it. And to finish it up, I'm going to add just a little bit of hemp seeds. I like hemp seeds because they are a rich source. They contain some iron, they're having some healthy fats in them as well a complete source of proteins. So this way you're getting a lot of nutrients as well. You don't have to go too much with them either. And this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me just recap what you have in there. You can use this in any other recipe that you have. Just keep in mind, use 1/4 of starchy vegetables or carbohydrates and whole grains, 1/4 of whatever source of protein that you like. Make sure you fill up at least half of your plate with vegetables that are non-starchy. Leafy greens, they definitely should be part of that. And make sure you make your own dressing. That's very important, because you can make your dressing actually in a way that it further boosts your nutritional intake, but it also makes your bowl taste really good too. So, and you can do the same, for example, the same principles when you're making a casserole or when you are making soup, for example. You can use the exact same principle of using lentils with more vegetables and making sure that you also have some healthy protein and fat sources in there as well, such as, for example, coconut milk or things like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye. Oh, I'm gonna taste it, right. Let me try it. I'm just gonna move this away. I'm gonna take another spoon. Let me try this now. So, to taste it, I want to kind of have a little bit of everything. It's really good. Who knew you can make delicious food that it's simple, nutritious, and not complicated at all? Can I keep on drinking this? It's really good. Bye, everybody.